I'm just the intern. What do I know, right? Well, turns out I knew how to follow instructions a little too well. I was 3 weeks into a marketing internship when I realized my boss didn't actually want help. She wanted a human clipboard with Wi-Fi. That's how I described it to my best friend after my first full week under Brielle, the creative lead at a mid-size agency that catered to cool local businesses. I won't lie, when I landed the internship, I was hyped. Paid, barely, flexible hours, and the agency's Instagram made it look like everyone was riding longboards and sipping matcha while brainstorming on beanbags. But the reality? It was less Google Campus and more toxic group project, with Brielle as the kid who volunteered for the slideshow and then bullied everyone else into doing the work. She didn't ask for ideas. She barked instructions. She didn't give feedback. She sighed dramatically when you misread her cryptic 4-word briefs. But hey, I was just the intern. The turning point came on a Thursday afternoon. I was in the corner of the office, headphones in but not playing anything, pretending to work on a project just to avoid being summoned. Brielle was at her standing desk, pacing in clunky designer boots and spewing half-baked ideas for a campaign one of our biggest clients, Brightnest, had asked for. Brightnest is a sustainable home goods brand. Think bamboo toilet paper and glass soap bottles. Their whole vibe is clean, thoughtful, warm, which is why it was extra weird when Brielle pitched a tagline like, "Get your house in order. Your parents would be ashamed." I blinked, thought it was a joke. It wasn't. She asked me to draft a full email campaign with that tagline as the opener. "Lean into the guilt," she said. "Make it edgy. People love that now." I said, "Are you sure? That feels off-brand. Brightnest's whole voice is positive and uplifting." She turned to me with that tight-lipped smile I was already learning to dread. "Talia, I've been doing this for 10 years. Just write it how I said." She walked off. So I did exactly that. I opened a new doc, wrote the subject line, "Your parents would be ashamed." I followed her tone perfectly. Judgmental, snarky, borderline mean. I quoted her phrases verbatim, "Shame clean, filth isn't aesthetic," and my personal favorite, "Even your dog thinks your kitchen's disgusting." I sent it to her for review. She skimmed it, smiled, and said, "Perfect. Schedule it to send out tomorrow morning at 10. We want it in people's inboxes before they're fully awake." "Are you sure?" I asked again. "No edits?" She rolled her eyes. "Just send it. Exactly how I said." So I scheduled it. Exactly how she said. The next morning, I walked into the office at 9:55 with my iced coffee and a tight knot in my stomach. Sean, another intern who'd quit 2 weeks earlier, had warned me, "Don't cover for her. Ever. She'll throw you under the bus the second something goes wrong." At 10:02 a.m., the campaign went out. At 10:08, we got the first angry email. By 10:15, it was dozens. By 10:30, #catted Brightnest was better was trending on Twitter. Clients were furious. Customers were replying with screenshots and outrage. Who thought this was okay? Shaming people into buying dish soap? Really? My mom died last year and you're using parental guilt for marketing. Disgusting. The office was silent except for the ding of Slack notifications and the rising sound of Brielle whisper swearing at her screen. I watched her stand up and storm toward me. "Talia," she hissed, "did you actually send that email?" I blinked slowly. "Yes, exactly how you wrote it. I asked twice if you were sure, remember?" She stared at me. For a second, I thought her eye might actually twitch. "You didn't think to edit anything? You said to send it exactly how you wrote it." She opened her mouth, closed it, stormed off. An hour later, she called me into a meeting with Jason, one of the heads of another department. Jason's cool. He's not in marketing, but he's got this calm, observant vibe, and he's always been respectful toward the interns. Brielle was in spin mode. "She must have misunderstood the tone," she said. "I didn't approve the final copy. It must have been a draft." I pulled up the Slack thread on my phone. Time-stamped, clear. Her exact words. I slid it across the table to Jason. He read it. Looked at me. Looked at her, said nothing. Just nodded and dismissed me. That day, I learned 2 things. Brielle was willing to risk everything to protect her pride. I was done covering for her. From that point forward, I kept every receipt, every Slack, every email, every sticky note she left on my desk with passive-aggressive instructions. I archived voice memos and screenshotted her typos. If she said jump, I wrote down the height and asked her to sign it. She noticed. "Oh, are you documenting me now?" She laughed one day. I smiled. "Just keeping things clear. You know, in case you want it sent exactly how you said." She never said that phrase again, but she didn't change either. She kept making reckless decisions, ignored suggestions, insulted people in meetings. She micromanaged me so hard I started drafting copy in Google Docs just so she could comment on it instead of breathing down my neck. And then one day she made a mistake she couldn't erase. She tried to lie to her boss. After the email debacle, I thought maybe, Brielle would tone it down. Instead, she got worse. She stopped giving instructions through Slack and started calling me over with vague demands like make it punchy but soft or use Gen Z language but not too millennial. I'd ask for clarification, and she'd smirk and say, "Use your judgment. That's what interns are for." Except I'd already learned the hard way. My judgment wasn't the problem. Her ego was. The backlash from the Shame Clean campaign lingered longer than anyone expected. Brightnest paused their account. Other clients asked for a different point of contact. Brielle's attitude went from smug to scattered. She spent more time in closed-door meetings, and the rest of us, especially me, were left to manage her mess. Then, about 2 weeks later, she told me to prep the campaign for another client, Relief, a local plant shop going national. "Use what we talked about," she said, half looking at me from behind her monitor. "Eco-luxury. Elevated, but earthy." I drafted a few versions, wrote notes for tone and phrasing, gave her options to choose from. She didn't read them, just waved a hand. "Pick one and schedule it." I looked at her. "Should I send you the final version before it goes out?" "No, I trust you." I wanted to laugh. Still, I emailed it to her anyway, just to have proof. She never responded. So I scheduled it. It launched the next morning, and that's when the real chaos began. At first it seemed fine. The open rate was decent, clicks were average, no immediate backlash like last time. But around 2 p.m., my inbox started pinging. One of Relief's competitors posted screenshots of our email, claiming we'd copied their tagline, "Breathe better, grow greener." I hadn't copied anything. I didn't even know that company existed, but the phrasing was similar enough to spark a thread accusing us of plagiarism. By 4 p.m., Relief had pulled their upcoming promo budget. By 5:30, Jason popped by my desk and quietly said, "You may want to check in with Brielle." When I walked into her office, she was mid-rant on a call. I waited in the doorway. "No, I understand. It's being handled," she snapped. "We'll follow up in writing." She hung up and turned to me like I was gum on her shoe. "Why would you send copy that hadn't been approved?" I blinked. "I emailed it to you yesterday morning. Subject line said, 'Relief final copy needs approval.' You should have followed up. You said, and I quote, 'I trust you.'" She narrowed her eyes. "Don't take that out of context." I didn't argue. I didn't need to. I had the time-stamped email. I had the Slack chat from 2 days earlier where I confirmed the direction. I had everything. The next morning, I was CC'd on an internal review meeting invite, with Kendra, Brielle's boss, attached. That's when I knew. This wasn't just a client screw-up. This was a company screw-up. And Brielle was already lining me up as the fall intern. I prepped like I was defending a thesis. Screenshots, email threads, file version history, even the automatic timestamp from the email scheduling tool. Luna, my best friend and eternal hype woman, helped me put it into a clean, organized Google Drive folder titled, "For Transparency, Talia's Records." I didn't want to be petty. I wanted to be precise. The meeting was Friday morning. Conference room. Fluorescent lighting. The kind that makes everyone look vaguely guilty. Kendra sat at the head of the table, quiet, composed, clipboard in hand. Brielle launched into her spin. We had some miscommunication with an intern. She submitted copy that hadn't gone through proper approval channels, and unfortunately, it bore resemblance to a competitor's slogan. She smiled at me like we were teammates. I cleared my throat. "May I respond?" Kendra nodded. "Please do." I plugged in my laptop, opened the Drive folder, and walked through it. Slow, steady, calm. The Slack messages, the initial brief from Brielle, the copy I wrote, the email I sent, the lack of reply, the file history showing no changes since I submitted it, the timestamps, all of it. At the end, I said I followed her exact instructions, including when she told me not to wait for approval. I flagged the email. She didn't respond. I proceeded as told. Kendra didn't say a word for several seconds. Then, "Thank you, Talia." She turned to Brielle. "Do you dispute any of this?" Brielle's face was the color of old printer paper. She shook her head. "I didn't realize the email had gone out." Kendra raised an eyebrow. "But you instructed her not to wait for approval?" Silence. After the meeting, I went back to my desk. Jason passed by and gave me a tiny nod. No high five, no applause. But in that moment, it was all I needed. The following Monday, Brielle didn't show up. Her office door stayed closed. Tuesday, we got a company-wide email from HR. Effective immediately, Brielle Weston is no longer with the company. People murmured. Jason looked like he'd known it was coming. I kept my head down and got back to work. Kendra called me into her office that afternoon. She offered me a formal letter of recommendation and asked if I'd consider extending my internship past the original 10 weeks. Said I had a clear head under pressure and an attention to detail this department needs more of. I accepted the extension and walked out with a little smile. Not smug, just satisfied. Because here's the thing about malicious compliance. It's not always dramatic. Sometimes it's just quietly doing your job. Exactly how they told you to. The Monday after Brielle didn't show up to work, things in the office were weirdly quiet. Like eerily quiet. The kind of quiet where no one wants to ask too many questions out loud in case the walls have ears. Her office door stayed shut, lights off. Someone whispered she was working remote, but no one believed it. I kept to myself. Headphones in, tabs open, a quiet intern just doing her job. But every hour or so, someone would stop by my desk and say things like, "I saw how you handled that meeting. Respect. That took guts. Good on you. You good? Let us know if you need anything." I didn't need anything. I was fine. But inside, I felt like I was walking across a frozen lake and hearing cracks beneath every step. By Wednesday, Brielle still hadn't returned, but she was sending emails, lots of them. To me, to HR, to her boss, Kendra. She was trying to claw her way back into the narrative. And guess who she was blaming? Yup, me. The first red flag was an email I wasn't supposed to see. It was from Brielle to Kendra, but someone on the CC list forwarded it to me for transparency. It read, "Talia has created confusion and misrepresented my instructions in multiple cases. I have concerns about her judgment and how it may affect our client relationships." I stared at the screen, jaw clenched. She wasn't just saving face anymore. She was actively trying to frame me. I didn't panic. I documented. I screenshotted the email. I went back into my Drive folder and added everything from the last 2 weeks. Every Slack message, every brief, every "I trust you, go ahead," every project version. I also started keeping a handwritten log, dates, times, witnesses, quick summaries, like I was building my own little case file, because I wasn't just protecting myself anymore. I was preparing. That Friday, I got a calendar invite from HR. Title, Clarification Meeting, Performance Review, Talia. No Kendra this time. Just me, Brielle, remote, and an HR rep named Marcy. The subject line alone told me everything I needed to know. Brielle was coming for my internship. I walked in calm. Dress shirt, slacks, no makeup, hair tied back. Just professional enough to be taken seriously, but not stiff. Marcy introduced the call. Brielle's voice came through the speaker. Tight, polished, fake sweet. "I just want to be clear that my concerns aren't personal," she said. "I value Talia's effort, but we've had several miscommunications that have led to negative outcomes." She cited poor follow-through, unclear copy direction, and even claimed I had gone off brief on a client project. I waited until she was done. Then I pulled out my laptop. "Marcy," I said calmly, "would it be okay if I walk through my side of things?" She nodded. "Absolutely." I opened my Drive folder and screen shared. This is the brief Brielle sent me. This is my draft. This is the time-stamped Slack message confirming her approval. This is the campaign approval email I sent the night before the send date. This is the read receipt that confirms it was opened. This is the unedited copy she said was perfect. This is her saying, "I trust you." And here's the final copy I scheduled, unchanged from the version she approved. I looked up. Silence. Marcy's face stayed neutral, but her posture shifted. She was listening now. I continued, calmly. "I understand that Brielle is under pressure. I've done everything I can to follow instructions to the letter. I keep records not to undermine anyone, but to make sure I can always point to the process when something goes wrong." Pause. I've never acted without approval. I've never altered direction without documentation. And if there's any area where I've misunderstood, I welcome the feedback, preferably in writing. Brielle didn't speak for a full 30 seconds. Then, well, I didn't realize you'd kept such extensive records. Marcy cleared her throat. I think this is a good stopping point. Thank you both. I left the room without saying a word. Back at my desk, Jason gave me a slow thumbs up. I smiled. Small, tight, but real. Because that moment wasn't about winning. It was about not letting someone rewrite my story while I was still in the middle of it. Later that afternoon, I got an email from Kendra. Talia, I'd like to schedule a one-on-one with you next week. Please let me know your availability. Just that. No context. But I had a feeling. That weekend, I exhaled for the first time in days. Luna and I got tacos and sat on my apartment floor with no shoes, no makeup, and too much hot sauce. Do you think she'll get fired? She asked. I shrugged. Don't know. Don't care. But you'd feel better if she did, right? I looked at the wall, thought about it, and realized not really. I didn't need Brielle gone to feel validated. I just needed people to stop pretending she was untouchable. And they were starting to see it. Her unraveling wasn't public. There was no dramatic firing in the break room. But the vibe shifted. She started copying fewer people on emails. People stopped looping her in just in case. Even the social media lead, who used to gush over her vibe, started sending stuff directly to me. I wasn't rising. She was sinking. And I was just staying steady. That's the beauty of malicious compliance. You don't have to yell. You don't have to sabotage. You just follow instructions, meticulously. And keep the receipts. The Monday after that HR meeting, the energy in the office was different. Lighter, calmer, focused. People weren't whispering anymore. They weren't walking on eggshells. There was no more fake smile tension whenever Brielle entered the room, because she didn't enter it. At 9:43 a.m., a company-wide Slack pinged. From HR, as of today, Brielle Weston is no longer with the company. Please forward any outstanding client correspondence to your team leads. There was no celebration, no memes or side-eyes, just a moment of collective breath, like we'd all been holding it for weeks and didn't even realize. I didn't gloat. I didn't message Jason. I didn't text Luna anything snarky. I just sat at my desk, opened my to-do list, and kept working, because the win wasn't in her leaving. The win was that I stayed. 3 days later, I had my one-on-one with Kendra. Her office was modern but not cold, soft lighting, a few plants, muted furniture. She gestured for me to sit, folded her hands, and said, "First, thank you for handling everything with maturity. That's rare." I nodded. "I just tried to stay accurate." She smiled. "You did more than that. You protected the brand. You protected yourself, and you protected your team." Then she leaned forward a little. "I'd like to offer you a part-time position here. Paid. Title, Junior Copy Associate. We'll work around your class schedule." I was stunned. I think I said something super eloquent like, "Oh, wow, seriously?" She laughed. "Seriously." It came with better pay, real projects, and a direct line to the creative team, not filtered through someone else's ego. I accepted on the spot. The next few weeks flew by. Without Brielle, everything became functional. Approvals moved faster. Team meetings didn't feel like being stuck in a group chat with a ring light and an influencer complex. Even the clients noticed. Brightnest came back. Relief gave us another chance. The new email campaigns? Clean, effective, and not insulting people's dead relatives. I was finally allowed to do the work, not tiptoe around someone else's sabotage. Then, one random Thursday, I got a package at the office. No name, no return label. Inside was a sticky note that said, "Thought you might want this." Taped to it was a copy of the Shame Clean campaign, marked up with red pen. The edits were all mine. No idea who sent it. Probably someone from the print team. Maybe Jason. Maybe no one. I pinned it to my cubicle wall, not as a trophy, but as a reminder. Not of failure, but of what happens when you don't speak up, and what changes when you finally do. Luna and I went out to dinner that night to celebrate. I told her everything. The offer, the new title, the ghost package. She raised her glass and said, "To quiet revenge." I corrected her, "To careful receipts." Here's the thing about malicious compliance. It's not about being petty. Not really. It's about knowing the rules well enough to follow them so precisely, so perfectly, that the person who made them looks foolish trying to blame you for it. It's about playing the long game. It's about surviving the system long enough to be in a position to fix it. I never heard from Brielle again. No apology? No follow-up. No, you were right. She probably thinks I was a snake, or a narc, or a manipulative little intern who cost her job. That's fine. She was a boss who asked me to send a bad email, ignored my warnings, and tried to ruin my reputation. We're even. One afternoon, about 2 months later, I was walking back from lunch when I saw a new intern at the printer, struggling with toner, looking like she might cry. I stopped and helped, showed her how to fix it, got her paper jam unstuck, gave her the shortcut keys to reprint without crashing the queue. She thanked me, said, "Most people just ignore me." I smiled and said, "Yeah, I know the feeling." Sometimes I think about how close I came to just letting Brielle walk all over me, about how easy it would have been to stay quiet, take the hit, and write it off as a learning experience. But I didn't. I documented, I organized, I waited, and when the time came, I let the truth speak for itself. So if you're in a job where someone's making you feel like your silence is safer than the truth, keep your records. Keep your cool. Keep your head down until it's time to lift it up, because quiet doesn't mean weak, and calm doesn't mean passive, and compliance, well, sometimes it's the sharpest tool you've got. Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed, please like, share, and subscribe for more content. If you want to share your stories, please comment below. Additionally, what is your opinion on the poster's decision?